When you switch from a single needle to a twin needle, your decorative stitches and possibilities are doubled. So what is the use of a twin needle anyway? So originally we've talked about being able to do pin tucks, which this is one of the blocks from our BERNINA Stitching Cosmos online course where we did both pin tucks and decorative stitches, and I had some fun with some other stitches on a slightly different machine. But having the ability to put two different colors of thread in the needle allows you to start creating something people always say wow about. So when we come to the twin needles, you can get them in different sizes. So sizes means how far apart the two needles are. So once we kind of explore the different needle sizes, I'm going to show you how to thread up the machine and what you touch on the machine so the machine doesn't forget you have a twin needle on and go stitching too big and break your needle. So there's a great little security area for us to follow. So for decorative stitches, I am a fan of 2.0 millimeters wide. So those needles are very, very close together. Now as you get to a 3.0 twin needle, they get wider, and you can go up to a full 8 millimeter twin needle on this machine. Now you're not going to get much for decorative stitches here, but we're talking being able to stitch 2 rows of straight stitches side by side in one pass. Now one of the things that we do use twin needles for also is where you see on your clothing, like the knit fabrics, you see 2 rows of stitching. You'll find that you can duplicate that with a twin needle. Now this is called a cover stitch when you see it on your clothing hems, but a twin needle will allow you to do it on your sewing machine without having to buy an extra machine. Now I am a fan of cover stitch machines, but in a pinch I have options for different widths. Now here's another cute little project we've actually done with the twin needle, just using the decorative just using decorative threads and doing straight stitches as I've added it to this little tissue holder. So you can find this pattern in our pattern library, and you can download this. This actually only takes 3 seams, and it makes for a fun little tissue cover in the form of a Hawaiian shirt. Before we talk threading, I want to show you where you go to set up for a twin needle. We're going to be going into where it says 9 millimeter. It's got the picture of the throat plate and the needle. So here's what's nice about this machine is that when we do tell it what size of twin needle we're working with, you can virtually look at all the stitches and how they're going to turn out. Now for me with my decorative stitches, this is a lifesaver. So let's just go ahead and pick a 2.0 twin needle. You're going to see that stitch coming up on screen. So I'm going to pick a couple stitches, and then I'm going to come back, choose a wider twin needle, and show you what the differences are. One of my favorites to reach for, stitch number 8, that little honeycomb stitch, looks fantastic with a twin needle, a 2.0 twin needle to be exact. If we go over to some of our decorative stitches, I love the open ones. And here we go. We can just touch them. This is also a go-to stitch for me. Stitch 302, and you can see that you get totally different looks. Now some won't look great, but I will tell you a lot of them do. I tend to shy away from some of the stitches that are very heavy, but the more you stitch them, the more you realize they can be fun with the right combination of stitches. They're just going to get a little bit thicker. So let's go back to that honeycomb stitch. Keep an eye on that stitch. Now, when I pick a twin needle, that is a wider twin needle, let's do the 4.0, your stitches don't have so much of the overlap or intertwining of the stitches that we had earlier. You have stitches that are more parallel to each other. For example, you can see on a straight stitch how far apart that is. And on a zigzag, they kind of run parallel like little railroad tracks down your pattern. So when we go to what we've picked before, they don't look as, oh, that one's not too bad, but they don't look as cool as if you had picked a narrower twin needle. And isn't this nice? We can just go through and see our stitches before we stitch. Ooh, I'm going to have to come back to that one. That one looks like it just landed perfectly together. Now with a twin needle, you can adjust this only up to a certain amount. You can see it maxes out at 4.6. Remember, I have a 4.0 twin needle on, so the max, remember, is 9 millimeters. So 4.6 plus 4 is under the 9mm max that I would have to work with. When you turn the machine off, this will be remembered. So when you are done with your twin needle, just come back in and choose single needle to go back and have the full width zigzag options for your stitches. Okay, so let's go ahead. I think I'm going to use 2.0. So we're going to pick that, and then the machine is ready for us to thread. One little trick for threading, and then one additional item to note, your needle threader does not know how to handle a twin needle. So you're definitely going to need to thread this yourself, or pick up one of those handheld needle threaders that I like, the ones that kind of plunge the thread into the needle eye. Those are so handy when it comes to threading for decorative stitches with a twin needle, or pin tucks, or cover stitching, whatever you are choosing to do. So there's currently thread in this machine, and so I am going to unthread it because I am going to need to know where these two threads are going. Let me show you what we're talking about. I'm going to put my extra spool of thread right up here. Oh, I should find my little foam piece to put under here so it doesn't sound so loud. But I'm going to get a hold of both the threads. Here we go. I'll put that there. Ah, that's much better. Great little addition. And as I put both the threads in my hand, I'm going to bring them both underneath the first guide. And then as we come forward, this is the part we need to know. So right in here, there's a little bit of a fin sticking up. That's what I call it anyway. So it's a little piece of metal, and you actually have tension discs on the right side of that fin and on the left side. So with the twin needle, what we want to do is separate your two threads and put one on one side and one on the other. Then you can put both threads back together in your one hand. I'm going to give them a little tug here, a little floss. Make sure they have gotten all the way down where they need to go. And then I'm just threading all the rest of the guides together with both threads. Now I'll go ahead and put my twin needle in and thread the eyes. Then I'm going to show you how fun it is to stitch with a twin needle. So people always ask, well, what about the bobbin? No problem. The bobbin's going to just catch both needles as we sew. I always start off with just a straight stitch, just kind of make sure everything is threaded correctly. If it's not, then just rethread the top, follow the directions I just gave you to really make sure those threads are seated in all the guides. I've got two different colors here, one a variegated thread in one needle and a solid color in the other. Now it doesn't matter which thread goes in which needle, and you can use the thread cutter to finish your stitching here. So this is what it's going to look like with just a straight stitch. So let's go ahead, let's do that honeycomb stitch. So I'm going to just go ahead and do a little stitching. You can see that the machine has narrowed down this stitch, so as those needles go all the way out to the edge, I'm still getting that full 9mm stitch width, but I'm not going over the edge where I would accidentally break that needle. Sometimes you might start off a little slower while you're sewing, and then as you begin to be more confident in your machine settings, you can go a little faster. So just, you realize that after you've stitched your stitch book, which I know a lot of you have started doing, you could go back and stitch out a lot of these stitches with different sizes of twin needle to give you a whole new look to those stitches. So here I'm going to pick out, here's one of my, like I said, one of my favorites. So I'm going to just stitch it out, and you can just kind of jump from stitch to stitch because of that security area locking in, that you can pick any stitch in this machine and it is ready to stitch with that limitation. So until you actually physically turn it off, it will stay on as long as you need. I'll just stop there. I push pattern end so I can see that it finishes at the end of the pattern, and look what fun we can have with all the decorative stitches. Now remember, when you're done using your twin needle, you do need to go back in, turn off that limitation, and then select a single needle for your normal stitching time. If you're looking for more information on the Bernina Stitching Cosmos online class, definitely check out the links below this YouTube video. Check out the 10 free videos you can watch for free and see if this class is right for you.